You're watching Rehatch Designs by Tina Williams, where I remake and update unwanted and discarded items into beautiful home decor in many different styles and in many different ways to resell in my booths or to use in my own home. So sit back and enjoy the video, and if you like it, please give me a thumbs up, a like, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you'll know when I upload future videos. Thanks for watching. So let's just jump right into it. I hope everybody's doing well today. I am going to be making 4 projects today, and they all have to do with these beautiful rusty, crusty trucks. So this image is from Decoupage Central, and this is a pumpkin wood piece that I got from the woodcrafting section from Hobby Lobby. It was $9.99, and I think I got 40% off, so very affordable, and it's good quality, a little bit thicker than you would get from like a Dollar Tree, and a little bit bigger as well. So what I'm going to be doing first off is I'm going to take a paint couture buttercream, and I'm going to be painting this whole one side of this pumpkin, because we're going to be putting decoupage paper on it, and usually on decoupage paper you want to put a lighter color, usually it's white or a white, so that it pops. And now I'm just taking a little paintbrush, and this is what I'm putting on there. So I'm actually going to form this to the size of the pumpkin, or the shape of the pumpkin, just by putting some water on there and going through the whole thing around the sides, and then I will tear it. And that's what's so great about decoupage paper. You're not limited to the size and shape of, the piece of paper. And this is on rice paper, so it has kind of a fiber to it, I would say. And when you tear it, it has that kind of jaggedy edge, and I make sure I do the bottom as well, although honestly we're going to be covering a lot of that up anyway. But that's what's so great about using decoupage paper on items like this. So it works really well, and this is a pretty good sized pumpkin, so it's going to go ahead and cover most of it, but you'll see what we do on the bottom part later. But I originally was just going to put this like in a frame or something, but I wanted to do something a little bit more creative with it, and that's what we're doing here. So anyway, after I go ahead and tear all the edges on this, we are going to go ahead and decoupage this down, and it takes very little effort to do this. So we're just going to go ahead and use my decoupage medium from Paint Couture, and it dries very, very flat. I love it. I guess if I want to sheen on something, then I'll use something else like polyacrylic. I like using something very thin, and this is very thin, and it works really well. So I'm just going to go ahead and start on one side, just a little strip, and then I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to go ahead and put some more decoupage medium all the way across. And one thing that you don't want to do, which I show you later, that I did do, you don't want to, on rice paper, overwork it or oversaturate it with your decoupage medium, because it'll basically dissolve. So you don't want to over rub it. You don't want to put too much liquid on there. I mean, it's not super delicate, but you don't want to overwork it. It's actually easier to work with, in my opinion, than tissue paper. Definitely easier than napkin, but you do have to be really careful you don't overwork it, because it'll basically just dissolve that part that you overwork. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'm going to go ahead and put a coat over the top, and that will seal this. Later on, I go ahead and I use Paint Couture Extreme Guard flat coat over this, just because I figured if it's going to be like outside on a front door or something, you want very, very good, sealer on there. But your decoupage medium is a sealer also. So anyway, I'm going over this with a piece of plastic, and this is the part you don't want to overdo. You don't want to overdo it with your hands. Uh, Definitely the plastic is probably better because it's less chance of that. So I'm trying to get any bubbles or wrinkles out, and there really are not really that many in there at all. It definitely rice paper is easy to work with, and now I'm just taking my same decoupage medium and I'm going over the whole thing to seal it. But as I said later, off camera, I kind of decided that I'm going to go over this with some Extreme Guard flat, and really that was because I spilled some of it on the project on my mat, and I just didn't want to waste it. So I thought, boy, I probably should do that. But really, if you're going to put something on your porch, you should probably do that. Now I'm going to go ahead and dry this with my heat gun. I always make sure I do that on decoupage, because what that will do is if there are any wrinkles or bubbles or anything, that heat will actually take those away. Just like, the ironing method, your heat gun will do the same thing. So now what we're doing, guys, we have a spot on the bottom that's blank. So we want to put something in there, and I'm going to go ahead and paint that in with Paint Couture's Homestead Blue. I'm trying to kind of match the blue that is in this truck, in the front of the truck. If you look at the truck, it's got a lot of blues. It's, multicolor, but I want it to look a little bit like that, and I want to bring that blue. It's kind of a grayish blue color. It's a beautiful color. But I'm going to go all along the bottom with that, and then I'm going to go a little bit on the sides, just a little around the corners, kind of to frame it a little bit. And of course, I'm not trying to get it perfect on both sides. I'm just trying to, with my brush, kind of stipple it in there. And if you see, I just went a little bit around the sides, and now I'm going to do the stem of the pumpkin, which you're really not even going to see that much later, but you do want your piece finished. But you can see that I went just a tiny bit around the edges with that same Homestead Blue. And of course, Fusion Paint has a primer in it, and it has a top coat. So once I put that on, I don't have to do anything else. And now what I did is I turned it over, and I like my back of my pieces to look finished if I'm going to sell them. I got done with this and I loved it so much, I'm not sure I'm going to sell it. But anyway, I used Antiquing Wax by Folk Art. I love this stuff. And I used it straight after I got done doing the front of this whole piece. And I just took a little bit of that Antiquing Wax and went over the blue and a little bit on the edges. And so now I have another piece from Hobby Lobby that I bought that was, I believe it was $4.99 and with 40% off. And it's a really big, thick wood piece that says Thankful. And I want to put this kind of on the bottom. See where we have all that blue, and it's going to overlap right there. So anyway, this project kind of evolves because originally I was just going to paint this with the brown Antiquing Wax, and which I'm doing here, and I'm just going straight from the jar. I'm making it really dark because there's a lot of brown in this in that picture, and I thought, well, I'm going to just do that. So I go over the whole thing with it, and the Antiquing Wax by itself, when I did it on the back, it's a sealer, so you don't really have to do anything to it. It's not really like a chalk paint. It's a wax. So you're basically, going to just do that. And I decided I was going to do that on this piece. The sides are already kind of a dark brown when you get it. They're kind of finished, which is kind of nice. But I think, well, okay, I'm just going to do that. And I decide that it looks good on there. And the whole thing was just like, it just completely moved in another direction later on. But anyway, I'm just taking a wipe and wiping off all the extra. And now I'm kind of placing it, and that's where I'm going to put it. And to me, it looks good, you know. There was just something missing, and it was bothering me. But I thought, no, I think it looks good. I'll wait till I'm done and trust the process and yada yada. But I think I knew that it just didn't have the effect that I wanted. So I'm going to go ahead and hot glue this on, and I'm using Gorilla Super hot glue, not super glue. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put that all on there, and I'm trying to make sure I don't put too much because I don't want it to get, smushed everywhere. So I'm going to put that on the back. And I do actually add a little bit of wood glue in a couple places, some tight bond on it because I want that to, be as a backup. And then I just pretty much put it on there after that. So as I said, I put it on there and I think, well, that's all I'm going to do to it. But then I move on later on. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to make a messy bow for the top of this. I don't know what to really call it. I guess it's just a door hanger, really. You could have it inside or whatever. I think I'm going to actually put it inside. But anyway, so I'm just basically cutting. I have some ribbon that I got from Hobby Lobby, and I'm going to go ahead and I don't want it to be that wide of strips. I'm just cutting these strips. I like the colors in it, but I'm just cutting them so that I can use them as just different strips. And I'm going to make a messy bow. And I really apologize for this because a lot of it's off camera, but basically you just put your pieces how you want them. I actually just kind of lay them, and I kind of do it in order. Like I'll do one, and then I'll go through the 4 colors, and then I'll do it again. And so then I just do that, and then I will go ahead and usually I'll take a piece of wire to put in the middle because that usually gets it nice and tight. And then I will go ahead and dovetail all of the individual pieces. You can do that before you put the bow together. I usually wait till later because sometimes I have to snip off some of them and kind of, make them more even or something. So I usually wait till I get the actual bow made. And then I just go through and I do that on all of them. And that's going to go at the top. I had some other ribbon I thought about adding onto it, but I really didn't want it to overpower this gorgeous truck. I thought the image was really, really I love it. I love the old truck image. It's been around for a long time, and I know some people think it's old, but I'm telling you, it has not gone out of style, and it's extremely popular. And I sell things like this, and every time you can do an old truck image, whatever holiday it is, they sell. So apparently a lot of people still like them. So now all I'm doing is I put my bow kind of where I want it. I can't decide if I want the bow on the outside with the floor, with the stuff, or on the inside. I know I don't want too much floral stuff on top, but I want a little bit. And then I finally decide I'm going to put the bow down first. And then I'm going to go ahead and put some leaves on top and a few other things. So I kind of, hot glue it all on there. And I decide how I want it. I want to cover those little pieces. So I just take that there and, just kind of play around with it. Whenever I do any kind of floral stuff, I don't know what I'm going to actually do until I'm doing it, and so I'm just trying little pieces of floral. Most of this stuff I got from the Dollar Tree, if not this year, last year, but it's not anything expensive for sure. And all my stuff at Hobby Lobby, I get when it's 40% off. And if you're a wholesaler, make sure you get your wholesale license because our tax rate here in Texas is 8%. So that's another 8% on top of the 40%. So that's pretty much almost wholesale price at that point. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead, and I've got these little pickberries, and I bought those at Hobby Lobby, and I love them. So I'm going to go ahead and I twirled them around the end of a paintbrush to make them kind of curly, like, the little tendrils of the pumpkin coming out. And then I have these acorns that I got at the Dollar Tree, and I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to place them on. I take forever doing this stuff, guys. If you saw how long it took me just to put those two acorns down, I don't know. I'm going to have to step it up if I'm going to keep putting stuff in 3 booths because it takes me forever to make up my mind sometimes. I don't film all that. Y'all would be bored out of your mind. So this is just a little pick from Dollar Tree. They have these little pumpkins, but it's like bright orange. So I just put some of that brown antiquing wax on it, and it dulls it down quite a bit. And for the most part, I think it works a lot better. So then I'm all done, and I'm thinking, I don't know, that thankful is just not doing it for me. It's blending in too much. I don't know, it's not working. So I take my Paint Couture, what color was it? A little buttercream, and I'm dry brushing over the brown, and I think, okay, I like that. I'm thinking I'm going to leave it like that. Because I think it really makes it pop a lot more, and you could definitely stop at that point. And I go over the whole thing, and I think I go back and forth, and I'll add a little bit more antiquing, go back with that, just to kind of try and make this pop more. And I think that's what it was, it didn't seem to blend into the overall picture. I thought it was in a great position on this board, but it just somehow didn't work. So then after that, I get done with that, and I decide, you know what? I am going to try and make this look like the truck. So at that point, I take a little bit of the Fusion Homestead Blue, and then I add a little bit of Blue Pine from Fusion, and then I take a little bit of Paint Couture's it is called Admiral Blue, which is kind of more of a denim blue, and I'm actually mixing all of those. I'm just dry brushing over the buttercream and going back and forth, and when I do too much, I go back and I add some of the brown. I mean, just basically I am trying to match the truck is what I'm trying to do, guys. I'm trying to make it look similar to that truck. That's what I got in my head, and that's what I decided I was going to do. And if it didn't work out, big deal. I could just go back and paint it again, right? But in my mind, I thought that would look really, really cool because the other color on there was enough of a contrast that it would still pop, and it would just seem like it would fit into the picture. Because what was happening with me is I think it just seemed like it was standing out in a bad way. Like it just didn't seem like it belonged there. Like I just took this wood thing and stuck it on there. So I keep going back and forth, and I'm doing this all while it's wet, blending the colors. Because if you look at that truck, I mean, it's all kind of blended in there too. So it's beautiful. I absolutely love this. I think I'm going to have to order another one of these because, at first when I got it, like I said, I was just going to put it in a frame. And now that I've done this, I think it's a great way to use it. So, of course, I'm putting the white back on because I took too much off. And I go back and forth, as I said, and I use multiple colors of blue. Because if you look at that truck, it's not just all one color. And I'm going to go back and forth until I like it. And then I'm going to let it dry. And we're going to move on to the next step. And the next step is I am using, if you guys have watched me at all, if you're new, you may not know this. I use the Rust Effects by Pentart. And it's like a 3-part thing. It's got like a brown color, an orangey rust color, and then a yellow color. And I use my finger to apply that. And I mix it as I put it on. because it really does do a good job of imitating rust. And so now what I'm going to do is, now you see me doing the yellow, and then I'm going to add the orange and the brown to this. And I'm going to go ahead and just keep going until I get it to the color that I want. I'm not only trying to make it look like rust, I'm also, as I said, trying to make it look a lot like the truck. I'm trying to mimic the truck. So I go back and forth with this. I love this stuff. You could definitely do the same thing with 3 colors of paint and adding some texture to it, but this is easy, and a little bit goes a long way. The only thing I have to say on these is I had bought some before. Make sure I use press and seal when I seal these, and every time I use them, I spritz some water in there because they will dry out. And a lot of your different texture things and stuff like mediums, they'll dry out if you don't put some press and seal on them. And then I always spritz it with a little bit of water every time I use them, and they've lasted me probably a year. I have had no issues. So as you can see, it's starting to look closer and closer to what that truck looks like, and I'm feeling a lot better about this whole thing. Yeah, I think it really is working for me now, and I think it turned out great. I do go over that portion with some Extreme Guard flat later, but here's the project, and I couldn't love it more. I think it turned out absolutely fantastic. It's a great way to use decoupage paper that's different, and I love that Thankful on there now. It's perfect for it. It's just perfect. So I absolutely love it. I think it turned out great, and I hope you like it, and it gives you an idea of what you might want to do. I personally am going to be ordering probably a lot more of this paper. So anyway, I love it. So this is project number 2, and you're going to love this. I love it. I'm telling you, I thought I was going to sell these, but I'm not. I just can't. So this is a little red truck that I bought off of Facebook Marketplace. There was a guy that was selling an entire box of these. I think there was like 10 of them in the box, and they averaged out to be about $8 a piece, which is a really good deal for these little trucks. So, and they're brand new, but I don't want to do a red truck. I want to do a blue truck. I want to do a rusty blue truck. So what I'm going to do is I am going to use Fusion's paint. Like I said, it has a primer and a top coat. So this stuff sticks. Let me tell you, you get it on your hands, takes a minute to get it off. Okay. So this is Homestead Blue again. I just love this blue. I'm going to go ahead and go over the whole thing. And I'm not looking for perfection. And I actually only go 1 coat. And if I miss some of the red, it's kind of an orangey red. So that's okay. I'm not going to do the inside or the bottom of this at all. I'm basically just doing the outside. And I don't even do the front grid. I definitely don't go over the silver that's already there. I leave that the way it is, and I go over the whole thing. And then I decide that I want to wipe back some of the blue, and I go over that, and I take some of the blue off so you can kind of see that orangey red underneath, because I think that's going to add to the overall effect. So I'm just taking a wipe and wiping some of it back. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to kind of do almost the same thing that I did on that Thankful, is I am going to take some other colors. I'm going to use Blue Pine by Fusion, and then I'm going to use a little bit of that Admiral Blue by Paint Couture, and I'm just going to go over this with those other colors of blue, because remember that little truck that we had that was on that beautiful picture from Decoupage Central? It was multicolored. It wasn't just one. And if you had an old truck, it would have a faded kind of blue. Wouldn't have a new paint job. Let's put it that way. I don't think. But anyway, so I'm going over it. At least my truck doesn't. I don't know. So I'm going to go over it with some different colors, and I'm doing it while that Fusion first coat is still a little bit wet, because I'm trying to blend it a little bit. I don't want it to just look like paint on top of paint. So I do that all over just to give it that distressed kind of look. I think it works. And I think I even take a little bit of the Paint Couture buttercream and mix it with a little bit of that Admiral Blue, and kind of go even a lighter blue, because I want that contrast on there. And it really does give it a very old, faded paint job look, I think. At least that's what I think it looks like. But, you may have different comments. Some people may have liked it red. Some people may have liked it nice, pristine coat of just the blue. So let me know what you think, if I should have left it alone or not. But if you've been watching my channel at all, you know that I like old, rusty, crusty things. So, yeah, it's very, when I'm doing something 10, you got about an 80% chance that I'm going to make it look old and rusty and crusty. So I do go over spots that I covered up with all the blue, because I really do want some of that red to come off. And one thing about Fusion paint, it's on there good when it's dry. So you got to do it while it's still wet, or you'll have to use sandpaper, because it's not coming off. That stuff does not like to leave where you put it. So I do go over a few places with my wipe, and wipe back some, and then blend, if I took too much off, just, back and forth. I mean, I really love doing that. It's just, that's part of the process. That's the creative process of it. Just trying to make things, look how you think in your head they're going to, which doesn't always turn out. But, you just keep going until you say, hey, I think that looks good, or I need to start over sometimes. But for the most part, that's what I do. So now what I'm doing is I'm going over this with a little bit of that antiquing wax, because I want to make this look a little bit more, vintage. And I'm just using my fingers. My hands are always a mess, guys. They're just always a mess. So, because I use my hands a lot. So after I get that on there, I'm going to rub that all over it. Just to give it that kind of, older look. Plus the wax seals in the paint, even though on the Paint Couture it is, and the Fusion paint, they are already sealed. But I go ahead and I make sure I put the wax all over. You're gonna pretty much, for the most part, not see anything on the inside of this, because we're going to put florals in it. But I do kind of finish it off, just because I want to make, if I don't glue my florals in whenever I do something, so that someone could take this little truck later and put whatever you want in it. I might do that. It could make a great 4th of July truck, So anyway, I do that. I go all over the whole thing. I make sure that I wipe off any extra paint. I got some paint on the tires and some other things. And, let everything dry before we move to the next step. Well, you guessed it. We got to put the rust on there now. I mean, you didn't think I wasn't going to rust this up. So I'm using that same Rust Effects by Pent Art, and going over places I think it will be rusted. And I actually add a lot to this because I do want this to look very old, rusty truck. That's the goal, and that's what I'm trying to do here. And of course, it has the three different colors, and I use my finger to blend it all in. And I'm gonna have quite a bit on there. So anyway, I do that all over, and for some people it may not be your jam, but for me, definitely I love it, and it sells well. I will tell you that. So after I get that all blended in the way that I want, I'm just taking some floral foam from Dollar Tree, and two of them fit in there perfectly. And I don't glue that into whatever container. Usually, I would say at least 85% of the time I don't. And I'm mainly using picks that I got from the Dollar Tree or Walmart. And I never use picks pretty much all in one piece. I cut them apart, and I will just mix and match until I like it. The process for me is just trial and error. I don't glue things in very rarely. Occasionally I'll glue something if it's not staying where it's supposed to stay. But I usually don't glue it to whatever vessel I'm putting it in so that person can change it out. If they buy this and, want to make it a 4th of July truck, they could just take all the florals out and put, red, white, and blue flowers in it. So, I'm very conscious of that. I want people to get more use out of whatever it is. Now, the thing about this is I was going to originally try and put some blue pumpkins that I have in there. Actually, I painted them, but I actually think it looks better without it. It was like the contrast in color. I can see why people do the blue. Now they do the red truck and a gray truck and all that, but I do see the blue truck a lot with the floral fall colors, yellow and the oranges and all the browns. And I think that contrast is absolutely beautiful. So I get why they do that. You know how you a lot of times see sunflower things with denim because of the color. That contrast looks really, really good together. So anyway, I go ahead and I keep poking these around till I get them where I want them. And Really the only thing that I can say that I'm not definitely a professional florist for sure. But I just try and balance things out. If I put something on one side, I try and put it on the other side. If I have something tall in the middle, I try and, add, you know, that. And that's pretty much all I do. So I think this guy turned out just adorable. I love it. Love this little truck. I don't think I'm going to give this up either. I really don't. I'm not going to have anything to sell in my booth. I'm keeping it all. But, hey, that's how it is. Alrighty, so project number 3. Y'all noticing a theme yet? Okay, we are going to be using another paper from Decoupage Central, and this is a beautiful paper here, and I'm just going to get some water, and I'm going to kind of, rip the edges to get that white part off, and I'm really not taking much more other than just the white part, but I'm making sure that it's, there's none of that left. I'm just going over it with some water and my paintbrush, and then you just using my thumb and pulling it. And again, rice paper has that it has that frayed look when you do that, so that it really works well for this type of project. Of course, you could do this with any kind of paper, guys. You could print things off the internet and do that. I've done that. The one thing I will say is if you have an inkjet printer, try and seal it with a spray sealer, before you do your project, because your ink can bleed. So, if you're going to just do something with an inkjet printer. So anyway, I go over the whole thing and I tear it, and I'm not trying to tear off all that much because I really want most of this image for our project. And it's pretty easy to do. Rice paper is a lot stronger than tissue paper, but you have to be really careful to not overwork it, because it's very fibrous, and you can kind of basically break down those fibers. And I'm going to show you in this project that I do that, but I fix it, I think, for the most part. You tell me whether I fixed it or not, but I do that, and I know better, and I really didn't do much to overwork it. So you do have to be careful with that. But overall, I think it's easier to work with. A lot less wrinkles or bubbles and things like that. And of course, it does give you that beautiful torn, frayed look on the edges when you tear that apart like that. So I just kind of make sure that it all looks pretty much the same. And I have this cutting board that was $9.99, 40% off at Hobby Lobby, which it's a big, thick, beautiful cutting board. So you really can't thrift them for cheaper than that, guys. Sometimes it pays just to go and get your stuff at Hobby Lobby, even if you're reselling. And, you can't, it's in perfect condition. You just add something to it, and boom, there you go. So I am just going to put this paper down just like we did before. But first, what I want to do is I am marking off. I'm basically holding my paper there, and I'm just marking off. And I'm sorry some of this is out of frame, but you'll see the bottom part. I'm just kind of marking off where I want to paint white underneath it. I don't want the white to show, but I do want the white underneath it. So I'm using Paint Couture buttercream, and I'm just going to fill it all in. I just kind of marked where I wanted to paint it, and I'm going to go just paint that buttercream one coat in the inside right there of where I marked it, and not anything real, strategic here. But I don't want the white to show. I want the wood to show on the outside. But I do want my picture to pop, and if I put it on the brown, it would blend in more, and I'm not wanting that. So, but I do want the brown on the end, so it does blend. So I just take my white paint, and I go across the whole thing, and then I let that dry, and then we're going to move on to putting our picture down. Now this truck looks like a rusty orange truck. So definitely the orange truck is big still, and it has a fall, pumpkins and everything in it. But it has kind of a different moody look in the back to it. I didn't want to do, exactly the same. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and use my Paint Couture Decoupage Medium, and basically, you know, that paper is going to cover all of that where I painted it white. And of course, I have my little starter strip. And you can see when I pull that up, you can see the fibers in that paper. And I honestly did not think I overworked this in the middle, but you'll see me in a little bit. I kind of do, and I have to fix it later. So I'll show you how I do that. So I'm going to go ahead and go over this. And when I say overwork, I mean like you don't want to rub it too much with your hands. You don't want to put too much product on it, like your decoupage paper. So now what I'm doing is I'm going over the whole thing with plastic. But for some reason, I don't know. I think it's after I put my top coat on and I'm rubbing it. The middle part above the truck, I rub a little bit too much, and some of the fibers start to dissolve. Now see that? Look right there. Right there. And so see how they did that? And I'm like, oh no. But I know there's a way to fix that, and I'm being really careful everywhere else. And I really didn't think I did that much to it, but that's okay. Making sure everything else is down, and I'm not going to overwork it. And don't fret, there is a way to fix it. So I have had to do this before. But I'm going to go over this with the same medium and make sure that I put some down. And I always let it dry a little bit, but I dry it with my heat gun, because heat gun will actually get rid of any bubbles or anything else, and it'll make it go down. And I'm going over this again with the plastic wrap, but I'm being super careful, and I'm watching that middle portion because it did start to break down those fibers. And basically you do that by just going over it too much. That's really all that happened. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and heat dry that with my heat gun, because that will definitely, if there's any wrinkles at all or whatever, usually on rice paper there isn't, but it will go ahead and do that. But as you can see, I mean, I could leave it alone. It doesn't look that bad, but I am going to fix this, and I will show you how I fix that in a minute. But anyway, I go over the whole thing and make sure it's completely dry. And it's not super noticeable after it dries. It looks, because there's kind of some grayish colors and stuff in the background, so you can't really tell. But I decide, no, I'm gonna try and mess with this, and I think it'd be a good thing to show you guys. I mess up on projects all the time. So I am just taking some brown ink that I have. This is Ranger Vintage Photo, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna paint that in the middle. I take a little water. I'm making it pretty watery, and I'm going to go in the middle, because if you notice, this whole background has brown and green and gray. So I'm just going to basically color that in so it doesn't look so white in that one spot. And I'm also adding that color to the rest of the paper so that it looks like it blends in. And I also take a little bit of a gray ink, and I do the same thing. And then now I'm going over this after it all dried with some polyacrylic. Now polyacrylic is food safe, and I go over it with 2 coats of that. And as you can see, guys, you don't even really notice that middle part now at all. So you can always fix things and just, chill out, have fun. Don't get stressed out about it. There's always a way to fix it. And, if not, it's just, hey, you can always start over. So now what I'm going to do is I am just taking some raffia, and at first I was going to tie a bow. Then I don't know. You know, I'm just going to kind of tie a knot and then I'm going to go from there. I want to put something at the top, but I don't want to put too much. So I kind of play around with the raffia and then I add a couple of other things to it and I kind of hot glue it, so it doesn't kind of spin around on me all the time. It was making me mad. So anyway, I cut it and, I just kind of mess with it till I like it. That's how you do with any kind of floral. I mean, it's a process. Look, see, that thing's it's driving me crazy. So anyway, then I'm going to also take the pickberries. I try and put this little orange. I had tried to put this on everything. It was like everything I tried it on, it didn't work. And then I thought, well, I could tie a knot, which it probably wouldn't have looked bad just to tie a knot on there like that. But then I thought there was too much on there. So anyway, I go back and forth. And y'all haven't even, this isn't even a fourth of my back and forth. So I definitely going to put some pickberries on there. I'm loving those. But they're hanging down a little bit too low, so I'm going to cut them. And of course, you always save all those little pieces because you never know you're going to need them. And then I add some other things to it. And I just kind of, I don't know, I thought about putting a bow on there. The bow didn't look right. So eventually I settle on a few little flowers, and I think I didn't overdo it. I wanted a little bit on there. I just didn't want a ton. And then I just took a little piece of twine that I had. It's really more of a rope. It's a little bit thicker. And I'm just making a little hanger for the top of this. And it is done. It is done. And I think it turned out super cute. And, honestly, this is a super fast thing if you don't overthink things like I do. But for the most part, I cut that off, make it a little bit shorter. So this is it. I think it turned out super, super cute. It goes along with our little truck theme. And I hope you like this one. And it's like, what, $5 I paid for this piece at Hobby Lobby. So if I sold it, I would probably sell it for about $24. So this is project number 4, and this is our last project for today. I don't know. Once I hit an hour after editing, I'm like, yeah, it's enough projects for today. So anyway, this is a little tin that I got at my favorite thrift store, and it literally cost me 25 cents. And I absolutely love the patina of this. You know how a lot of time the galvanized looks too shiny and new or whatever? This has the most amazing patina, and I'm not going to do anything to it because I love it. It almost has a grayish blue tone to it, so it kind of goes with our little thing. So here I have just a transfer, and this is from Redesign with Prima, and it's called Autumn Essentials. And I've used it before, and of course, if you've never used a transfer, they're super easy. But this has a cute little truck on it, and I'm going to go ahead and just put that transfer on and rub on there until I can get that off. It did take a little bit. I think this had kind of like a powder coat finish to it. I guess maybe I could have put a sealer on it, but it did come off pretty easy. It wasn't hard. It just took a little bit more than normally it would on a piece of galvanized metal, but I think it had like some sort of like powder coating. And then I took another piece that kind of matched the florals that were in the truck to put on the other side because, what if somebody puts this somewhere? You want it to look good on both sides. It's probably going to be me because I'm loving this little truck thing. And of course, yes. See how I get my money's worth out of this? You can get these on Amazon, and I'll link it for you. And I've definitely got my money's worth. So I'm going to put a little bit of rust here and there on there. And of course, go through the same process. And when I get done with this, I seal my transfer and the rust. I basically seal the whole thing with Paint Couture's Extreme Guard Flat. It's a very flat finish. I don't add any kind of patina or wax to it because, like I said, I absolutely love the patina of this little galvanized tin. So I will do that before I go on to the last part. So after I let that dry, I am just taking some floral foam and cutting it to fit in there. I put it in really tight. That way I don't feel like I just have to glue it in. Because like I said, I really don't, like to make it permanent. Although this is kind of fall, so it's got the fall kind of on it. I don't know that you could really change it to something else, but maybe you want to change your florals to something else, right? So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then, of course, we're just going to put some florals in there. I do put some Spanish moss. I did put Spanish moss in the truck. I don't think I showed that. But, I want to make sure that when, people are looking at this piece that it looks finished. Again, I kind of think I'm not going to sell any of these. I love the whole vignette when it gets done. My whole idea was I would make a whole vignette with this little truck. And I do know that when I make little vignettes like that and I place them in my booth, when they're all together, you usually sell more than one thing. Because people will go, oh, I want that whole, I want the whole thing. Or at least 2 or 3 pieces of it. So that's something to think about. But problem is if you like it too much and then you want to keep it. So yeah, but anyway, these are mainly all I would say 80% Dollar Tree and then maybe 20% Walmart little florals. And I'm putting a lot of sunflowers and these different flowers. I'm kind of mimicking the flowers that are in the truck and on the actual little thing. And so I don't know, maybe I put $4 worth of flowers in it, and the thing cost me the whole thing probably cost me under $5 to make. So if I sold it, I would probably sell it for, I don't know, $18 to $22. So anyway, here it is, nice and cute. It is stuffed, but I think it turned out super cute. And of course the truck part of it, right? So thank you for watching. I really appreciate it if you've hung in there this long. And if you like what you see, guys, please give me a thumbs up, share, like. It really helps out my new little channel. Subscribe, and hopefully I will see you again next time. I'm thinking I'm going to try and do Mondays and Thursdays. I keep changing it every week, so hit that notification bell because I have no idea. But I think I'm going to try Mondays and Thursdays. I have a feeling that's going to work the best for me, and we shall see. All right. You guys take care. And I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.